Can't the music just keep going and going? Oh, this is Liam Scheff on the Liam Scheff Show on UCY TV. It is a live program. This is one of those programs. This is one of those shows that I probably should have said, "Hey, Jules, you want to do one of those things where you put one of the ones I already did?" Oh, I'm so wildly unprepared. What can I do except tell you why? Excuse me. All right, let's get that out of the way. Oh my God, the pre-show biking gas straight out of the esophagus and stomach, which have been shaken up. I'm a little sweaty, but not too bad. I was at a lecture. That's why I'm late. I was at a lecture. It was a long lecture. Guy's pretty brilliant. He was a little redundant, but he's pretty brilliant. I really will give him that, and he does good work. His name's Dr. Well, we call him Dr. T for short. Mr. T to those of you who saw him in Rocky. No, his name is Adiel, and he does skin and other kinds of cancer stuff, and he's a cool dude, and he runs orphanages and schools in Nepal, and he's into the permaculture thing. So he's a cool dude. He's a wild dude. He's an interesting dude. And besides the fact that he kind of went over the same material a few times, maybe because there were some doctors in the crowd, he wanted to make sure they got it. It was a good talk. It would have been a good talk if it had ended, it was two hours and change. So he could have cut off the 45 minutes put on the end, and we would have gotten as much as we were going to get because there's only so much you can take in, which is why I do an hour-long show. I know. Why don't you do 2 hours, Liam? I have done. Go look in the archives on Truth Frequency Radio. And I used to be on another thing, and you and at the end, what does anybody know? So I've written a script, and the script is I'm wildly unprepared, and I might just hang up. You don't know what's going to happen. It could happen. It could be one of those. Really exciting. UCY TV is at ucy.tv. Truth Frequency Radio is at truthfrequencyradio.com. I don't think it's an org yet. My Facebook page is at zuckerbergwankshimself.org or facebook.com. Let's see, I just got a message in on Facebook. Okay, it's a message from years ago. God, I'm really wildly unprepared. Oh, this is the best opening of a show that's ever happened. I almost said worse. What have I been doing this week? Don't worry, I'll catch up with myself, but I don't want to do a show right now. Here's why. I don't want to do a show right now because I wrote the script. The script is good. The script is called what my webpage is called, The Oil Alarm. It's about how we are going to have to relocalize and grow food. Oh, I forgot to unmute the mic. Unpuke the mic. I haven't even been on the air, not once. No, I did. I unmuted it. I wrote this script. I like it. It's about 12 and a half minutes. It's good. We're going to try to animate it. The script is not political. I don't beat up on everybody. I don't say the left and the right. I don't say global whatevering any at all because nobody cares, and I certainly don't. What I care about is probably what's going to happen is that people are going to be hungry. They're not going to know why. Interstate trucking will get expensive if there's a breakdown or social unrest or a Ferguson situation or a Hurricane Rita and Katrina situation. I'm glad nobody really went out of their way to redo that Beatles song, Lovely Rita Meter Maid, as a hurricane song. It would have been tasteless and it would have been catchy. And then where would we have been? But I'm not doing that. I'm just saying that, look, this is how we get oil. You drill into the rock. It's actually rock. We're not drilling into a swimming pool underground. Drilling into stone. Let's look at the pages that I've been reading for the last week. I mean, I really am unprepared. I know I'm not kidding. It's not a line. I'm really wildly unprepared. All right, here, I got all these great lines. Okay, let me open all this stuff. Okay, this is what I've been reading. Ooh, reading. Right, I went to a lecture. Oh yeah, I wrote the script. And the script is great. Let me say it's good. I like it. I like it. It takes you through, and it doesn't beat you up, and you don't have to learn about Gawar and Saudi politics, and you don't have to learn about millions and billions of barrels per day. You just learn that we use a certain number of million barrels per day, but there's no quiz. It's not the most important part. The most important part is that with drilling, what goes up must come down. The reason that happens is, oh God, I thought it was 8:30. It's 8:06. Oh, this is going to be a hard show. Holy crap. I think I'd rather be recircumcised. I'm just not, I don't think I can do this. Anyway, when you drill into bedrock, right? You're not drilling into, hey, Freddie boy. When you drill, Bonnie, when you drill into bedrock, number one, who would you have drilled the most? Everybody's going to say Betty because Wilma was wildly annoying. Her nose, she talked like that. She was a nag to Fred, and Fred was a bore and an abusive. I mean, it was all tongue in cheek for like an abusive guy. I mean, so was the honeymooners. Like that was Allison. All right. Anyway, I think I would have chosen Betty. But then there's Wilma, and seemingly unappealing and kind of bitchy. And then sometimes you think maybe I want that. You think, oh, that's tough. And if I can tame that toughness, maybe that makes me more of a man. And then you're in bed with this crazy thing, and you're like, no, this doesn't make me any more of a man. It makes me more of a psychotic loser. I'm out. So Betty, I'm sticking with Betty. Anyway, when you drill into bedrock, when you drill into rock beneath the surface, what you're finding, it's not bedrock. What you're finding is sandstone and limestone. Bookmark limestone for a second, because limestone is calcium carbonate. And I got a calcium carbonate question. By the way, you can go to UCY TV. The chat room is open. They're making fun of me, my receding gum, my slight underbite. They're making fun of everything. Let me see. Do I have a slight underbite or a slight overbite? Hold on. I don't know. Slight over, slight over, slight, slight, slight. Anyway, you're not drilling into swimming pools underwater. You're drilling into rock. That rock has billions and trillions of tons of rock on top of it that's squeezing down. It is. It's pushing down on the rock and any liquid in the tiny pores. And I'm talking a half of a millimeter, a quarter of a millimeter, very, very, very tiny pores that are full of oil. And we get our oil out of all this stuff. So the rock on top, you drill through, you make a hole, you have an escape vessel. And then like Steve McQueen and The Great Escape, it has to get out. So the oil is squeezed out and it rushes up to the surface. And that pressure on top is pushing it, pushing it, pushing it, pushing it, pushing it down. And then guess what? It equilibrates. So the pressure is no longer sufficient to push the remaining oil out. So now you got to really start pumping. And it's hard because this stuff is heavy. How hard is it to lift a bucket of water on a rope? I know, just stick with me. How hard is it to lift a bucket of water on a rope, let's say, I don't know, 30 yards, right? That's hard. Now, a pump has to do that, but it has to do it over a mile or 2 miles or a half mile. That's hard. You got to use a lot of energy. No, it's a perfectly reason. How hard would it be to pull up? I know one's gravity, but the other's gravity too. You just don't see the bucket. You're actually pulling the stuff up. So it's a perfectly apt analogy. Or you put a straw down into got it. You remember when we were kids, you and me, and we used to hang down by the creek, and one day I said, Molly, if you show me yours, I'll show you mine. Remember that? But you remember when we would go, we were fishing. I showed you mine. Do you remember when we would go to the oh my God, when we would go, white trash. Do you remember when we would go to the 7-Eleven? Do you remember when we would go to the Wawa? Oh, Jersey. Do you remember when we would go to the Wawa? Do you remember we would go, and for that brief period of time where we just didn't know any better, and it just tasted so good, and it was so hot outside and so cold, in the 32, 48-ounce plastic container. They used to be paper, and then they were plastic paper container of whatever that stuff is. Those little tiny ice crystals that never really get to form all the way because they're churning around in a machine. Huh? And maybe per drink, 1/8 of a pound of red number 5. Per drink. Blue number 2, whatever. Azure blue. Oh, and then you would suck that thing down. And remember how hard it was to suck. See, you didn't think I was going anywhere. You remember how hard, maybe you knew the whole time, how hard, and you get the super big straws too, but you remember how hard it was to pull really thick material through a straw? Aha, now you understand. Now you get it. That's what happens with oil. So it's this stuff, and it's viscous, and it's in rock, and then you got to suck it up through the big straw, and it's really hard to get up. So what goes up must come down. We drill. So I tell this story in the script. You think I forgot about that, but I didn't. I tell that story in the script, and then I have this bit where I'm talking about cars and the invention of the car. Well, the car was invented before 1900, but the internal combustion engine using gasoline wasn't popularized until, I mean, when Henry Ford came, he sold a car for about $900, and that was very expensive. That was a year's salary, $900. And then he started mass marketing it. By the time he was selling, somewhere in the 20, yeah, that's 1908, he started selling it. And by the time Henry Ford, Nazi-loving, hemp-loving guy, Jew-hating, Nazi-loving Henry Ford, building a fictitious little America that never was somewhere in the Midwest while his factory workers worked 15-hour days on nonstop robot assembly lines. No, I'm serious. All that's true. Oh, they never worked 15-hour days. I bet some pulled double shifts. I bet some pulled double shifts. I bet. Uh, and he was a Nazi sympathizer, and he was anti-Jewish. Oh, the Jewish conspiracy is destroying the country. Fuck off. Oh, sorry. I used my one curse. Let me tell you something. All governments are full of conspirators and blah 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 blah. And maybe the state of Israel should have remained where it used to be in Russia and Germany, but that's another story. Anyway, I'm not getting into that right now. Anyway, there's nothing to be done. We're all doomed. Fine. So Henry Ford had his people working on this thing, and by the time they were all working like slaves, he got that car as a production car down to about 300 and change. Holy crap! And the Model T, I would buy a Model T today for $2,000 because it's a tank. You could the thing you could drive it up and down wet hills. Perfect all-road vehicle. I mean, not highway. I mean, you don't really want to take it on the highway. You just want to drive it around the farm. I'm serious. The original Model Ts ran on hemp. They could be made of hemp plastic, run on hemp oil. Well, who cares? Because we had so much oil coming out of East Texas in the 1930s that oil was ground down to, sometimes 10 cents a barrel nationally, sometimes 2 cents a barrel in Texas. All right, so you need a vehicle to sell. You need a reason. Sorry, I gave it away. You need a reason to sell cars. Oh, balls. I thought it was 8:30. It's 8:15. You need a reason to sell cars, right? And you got the reason. You need a reason to sell gas. Sorry. You need to be able to get rid of some of this stuff. And so you have this thing that burns it. And it's totally inefficient. Car is beautifully inefficient. So Henry Ford starts mass producing these things and stuff, feeding them gas. And we start to use up that surfeit of gas, that overabundance of gas until we were able to stabilize, the market on Nazis, all that kind of stuff. Jews, whatever, Hindus, until the people who run the world, the lizard people, refrigerator goes on, it's going to rattle. Whatever. It's a lifelike sound. I don't want to turn the refrigerator all the way off because sometimes it doesn't go back on for a while. It's kind of hot. I don't know. I'm in a quandary. All right, I'll just try to block the microphone with my heft. Price of gas stabilizes at $1. It stays at about $1. It goes up during World War I. It comes back down. It gets up to $2. $2 hold on a second. $2 a barrel, mes amis, mes sœurs, mes frères, mesdames, et mes. I'm serious. $2 a barrel. $2 a barrel. So gas can be like 5 cents, 10 cents, 15 cents a gallon, and nobody loses money. How's that? Okay. A barrel's 42 gallons. So what do you get out of that in terms of gas? You get 19 gallons of gas out of that. So what do you need to pay that back? Times 10 would be $1.90. Well, times 10 cents, let's say we got to make some money. 15 cents. Let's say we want to be greedy. 25 cents for a gallon of gas. And about 20 cents is where a gallon of gas stayed for a great deal of the first half of the 20th century. Even in the 60s, probably around 31 cents a gallon. I know, right? You wish you could have lived then. Well, you live now, suckers. You live in Fukushimaville. You live post-Hiroshima. You lived with 2,050 nuclear bombs having been exploded in the atmosphere and beneath the surface of the ocean and underground. You live in Mordor, where the shadow lies. Why are there no chicks? Why are there no chicks in Lord of the Rings? I know, they're the elf people, but why are there no actual chicks? Gayest movie ever. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm just saying it's about one rent boy's quest to get away from his drug dealer Gollum. I'm telling you that's what Lord of the Rings was about. I don't care if you believe me. J.R. Tolkien was, I'm serious. Don't tell me there weren't rent boys in the 40s when he was writing that either. I know, we switched trains. Okay. Oil, $2 a barrel. By 1971, the United States ran out of, no, it didn't. But what we did was we peaked. 1971 and a half was, and into two, was the year that we produced in Texas, California, Oklahoma, and the rest of the country more oil than we'd ever produced in this country. So what could possibly go wrong? Well, in 1972 and 3, they noticed that they were producing less than they had in 71 and 70 and 69, the greatest year ever invented. For purely sexual reasons, yes, you understand the joke. All right, so that's crass. I know. What do I care? I mean, that's a moment of love. Like when you're with somebody and you're like, "Do you want to?" And you're like, "Yeah." I mean, because you're both knob-gobbling at that point. I mean, you're just into it. That's all. So 74 comes along, and Egypt and Israel are getting pissy with each other, and Israel punches Egypt really hard. And OPEC, or sorry, the men that would be OPEC say, "Hey, actually, U.S., we don't have to suck your buttons anymore. We're not gonna if you back Israel in this, we're not gonna be best friends forever anymore." And the United States went, "Well, we're in charge of everything. We're in charge of what's the worst that could happen? What's the worst? Show me your worst, OPEC." And they did. They stopped selling us oil, and panic in the streets. Oil hit $12 a barrel. Do you know what oil costs now? It's like 60 a barrel. Do you know what it was in 2010? 140 a barrel. Let me check that date. $140 barrel oil 2010. I think it's June 2010. 2000's energy crisis, price per dollars, 2010, 72.87. Is this 2008? Did it really? Was it 2008? When did, Magic 8 Ball. When did oil hit 140 a barrel? So tell me it's 2010. Oh, it's 2008. Well, balls. Oil hits 140 for the first time in June of 2008. So, cool. All right. I was wrong by a year and a half, 2 years. So, $12 a barrel in 1974, and it never stops rising. And then we have the 80s, and it goes up, and then it comes back down. As we stabilize trade with Mexico, which had the Cantarell Field, then England brings, really Scotland and Norway but they call it the United Kingdom, bring the North Sea into production, and everybody's happy again, and they start making James Bond movies with like money, I mean, like his weapons become kind of like like first world weapons. Like shit, James Bond has like missiles and he can fly and stuff, and it's not just like a car that shoots oil on the ground. I mean, because what? Because wasn't that James Bond for? James, your car, what does it do? It shoots oil on the ground. Well, it's quite effective. Actually, it's quite effective. What more do you need if you're being chased? But then in the Pierce Brosnan James Bond. Didn't really care for it very much, but in the Pierce Brosnan James Bond, England was a world power. Why? Because they had oil. I know, but it was reflected in the movies. I know you're saying it doesn't make sense, but they were photographing that glass dildo pickle thing, the gherkin or whatever on the London, and then the big eye. It's the Ferris wheel, the Ferris Bueller wheel in the UK. What? Okay, I'm just saying. That appeared in the James Bond movies, and that's how you knew that England was in more money, and they made, it was the 90s. They had 4 weddings and a funeral, and everybody was on the up and up. Well, England before that was, selling England by the pound and the Sex Pistols, and England was a very poor place, and the divide between the working class, what you take, and the upper class was incredible. It was significant, and they've been playing on that for a couple hundred years in plays and comedies and novels, and from Dickens to Monty Python to whatever, to the Ruddles. We're just a couple of working class blokes trying to make a vegan. So, so this is all in the script except almost everything that I just said. But the stuff that's in the script, don't worry, I'm still here. It's Liam. The stuff that's in the script uh, is just about how you get the oil and what comes up goes down. And in the script, I talk about how we oil essentially infested the agricultural system because we used to invest a certain amount of energy to get a certain amount of food back. But now what do we do? Now we use big tractors and trucks, and we get, I don't know, what is it? What's the estimate? 1 calorie of food on the farm for every 3 to 7 that we put in, and then including shipping. One calorie of food for every 10 calories that we put into the of petrochemicals to get the food to the McDippies or the Whole Foods or whatever, wherever you eat, Chipotle, wherever you eat, you're eating at 1 to 10, or 10 to 1. We're investing 10 to get 1, and that's in the script. So it's a good script. And the only reason I'm a little stressed was because I said 2 numbers wrong. And one of them, I said 3 numbers maybe. Well, one of them is not necessarily wrong. It's more of an interpretive thing, and I have to put notes about why I chose that particular number. But 2 of them are just wrong. I mean, it was a date, dates. So I got to go back and record these segments. But recording a script is different than editing, like on air, because you have to get the same sound. And what do you got to move everything back to where you find it, put the pillows in the right place, whatever, put the pillows in the right place. And if I just don't remember where I put the pillows. So it's very difficult to get that exact same sound. It's driving me nuts. So then you're stuck with this question. Do I re-record the whole word, or do I record the phrase, or do I re-record the section? And if you re-record the section, you come in with a slight jolt because there's a slight difference in timbre or ambiance or whatever the word would be, torque, fluxion. There's a slight difference, but then you get used to it and then you have to snap out of it again. But if you just do the word, it sounds like this. Hey, Molly, what are you doing? But then it sounds like, hey, Molly, what are you doing? So did you get the difference there? Or like, hey, Molly, but let's say it wasn't Molly. That wasn't in the script, but it was Angela. So instead, hey, Molly, what are you doing? And then you have to go and you do ADR, which means any dummy could read this. I don't know. I don't know what it means. But when Hollywood people go in and they couldn't hear their line on mic, they have to go in and they call loop it. So they watch their lips move and they go, like George Clooney and, whoever is in the movie. I don't have another big curse word. I used it early. I'm disappointed, really. I should have kept it. When George Clooney and that stupid girl with a big smile was in Eat My Shorts, Eat, Pray, Love, Julie Roberts. Okay, so George Clooney and Julie Roberts. I don't know. They're in the movie, and you can't hear anything they're saying. So they go into a room and they put the cans on. Oh, that's professional radio talk for headphones, by the way. They put on their cans, and they watch themselves on screen. Narcissists, and they watch themselves on screen. And then George Clooney says something like, and he's got to play it really cool, right? Because he's cool. He never says anything really, but he never is like, this is George Clooney. His whole, we could rob him. That's George Clooney and everything. And then Julie Roberts is, ah! So they have to go and do that. And what I'm saying is I have to go do that. But I don't even get to match it to whatever. It's just all audio. And I'm sort of bummed out. And it'll work out. It's fine. This is just the kind of thing that stresses me. Because I'm not an incredible perfectionist, but enough. And you just want it to be seamless. And now it's not going to be seamless. There are going to be 2 seams. Which seems all right, I suppose. You're listening to the Liam Scheff Show on Truth Frequency Radio. On Truth Frequency Radio, we'll be heading into a break. On UCY TV, we're going to be here while I strip down, go to the bathroom, and powder myself. I might take a short sabbatical of a couple of seconds. I might turn the refrigerator off. It's making me yell. When I yell, I overdrive the mic. Don't forget it. I got a couple articles set up for the second half of the show so that we can get beyond me not being prepared. Some interesting stuff about history of farming, population of the United States, stuff that I've been researching for the script that passes by like lightning. You don't even know it's in there, but it's in there. I might talk about water picks. My receding gum on my left top front to the left, what's the 1, 2, 3 in? and that I'm supposed to be going to, oh, let me check the calendar. I'm supposed to be going to a dentist this week so they can charge me too much to tell me they have to charge me more money. Bastards. Dentist. Yep. Oh. Ugh. God. You can help me stay in short pants by going to my website, on the front of my website, or if you just go to PayPal and look. Can you do that? Can you go to PayPal and look somebody up? I don't think you can. If you go to where is it? Go to PayPal. There's a donate button, and it's not like I'm saving orphans in another country. Although I used to, I kind of used to, but I gave it up because it was too painful. Because nobody cares. Yes, I used to do work with orphans who were being used in medical trials. Yes, I spent years doing that. Nobody cared. Yes, nobody cares. Yes, I know. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Yeah, I know. Nobody cares. I know. Nobody cares about anything. That you start saying this stuff and people wring their hands and go, "Oh, okay. He has $10. God bless you. Thank God I don't have to listen to you, dude." And you don't. Oh my God. Does anyone want to go to the movies? I got a couple of questions that I want to answer in the second half of the show. The first question is, we are, this is a statement, we are a crazy, clever, and stupid species. I want to know what you think about that. So I'll be taking your call. Oh, sorry, I won't be taking any calls. I'm not set up for that kind of thing. And calls are always, somebody calls in, they're like, "Hey, is this Liam?" And yeah, you have a question? Yeah, is this Liam? Yes. Your question. Okay, like Liam, number one, I agree with you about a lot of stuff, but like the thing you were saying, like about radon. Now, my friend has like an energy conversion device that uses radon. Okay, I gotta go. Gotta go. Is there a question? Dude, you're a dick. You cut me off. All right, I gotta go. That's an action. That's how it goes. No, I know. It's just how it goes. It happens on Facebook. Somebody starts somebody starts screwing around on Facebook, and I say, "Yeah, what you're saying doesn't make any sense. Please stop it. You're a dick." No, I've limited time. I mean, what do you want me to say? It doesn't seem correct to me. Go to somebody that you like better. Go to somebody who it seems more correct to. That's fine. I don't have any problem with that. I'm not emotionally attached to the outcome of your decisions about who you are or what you're going to be. But to me, it seems sometimes wrong that and I'll say, that doesn't seem to work. You're a dick. Why are you asking my opinion? For me to agree with you? I might. All right, here. Kate Moss, for being somewhere close to 50, is alien screwable. Alien screwable. I know she's got those weird. You're listening to the Liam Scheff Show on UCY TV and Truth Frequency Radio. Jules Jules is watching me suffer. No, I'm all right, Jules. Jules wanted to give me a break. Jules runs the show at UCY TV. Jules runs the entire network at UCY TV. She's the hardest working girl in show business. Nobody knows. If you listen to her show every day, you'll know. She also manages the show for all the other dimwits and the halfwits and special people that populate internet radio. No, we're special. We're special. And she always treated me very, very, very nicely. And I like her a lot. She's a good egg. Whether you're vegan or ovo-lacto, whatever, she's a good egg. Over there at Truth Frequency Radio, where I broadcast on Thursdays, a number of good eggs, a couple of rotten ones, smelling up the place. No, a bunch of good people, very funny people over there with a good sense of humor. And I'm glad to be on both networks. This is Liam Scheff. You can find my webpage at liamscheff.com. Oh, I feel some professionalism kicking in. You can find my book, Official Stories. It only took a half hour. I really wasn't ready. I biked in. I'll tell you about the talk in a second. I was at a talk. That's why I was late. You can find my webpage at liamscheff.com. You can find my book, Official Stories, at amazon.com. It's on Kindle, and it's going to be on audiobook this year. I know, big surprise, big announcement. Official Stories on audiobook this year, read by yours loosely, with editing done by me, so you can be sure that there'll be some mistakes, which you can comment on in the comment room at UCY TV. Let's see what's happening there. Well, it says, I can't go read comments. I always get distracted. And I take things personally. Like somebody's like, this guy's voice sounds like oatmeal. I don't like him. So I just think, well, wait a second, does my voice really sound like oatmeal? I mean, what does oatmeal sound like? And then I get into this whole philosophical trance. And I just get, and you'll hear it like, hey, it's Liam on the Liam Scheff show. And then I'm reading and I'm like, how do I not sound like oatmeal? Jesus God, how do I not sound like oatmeal? What is it? Is this more oatmeal-y? I was at a talk given by a guy who does cancer things. I've let him burn some things off of my skin. I was worried about it the first time. I don't worry about it anymore. I had not an unsightly mole, not unsightly at all. It would just look like a slight protrusion coming out of my skin on the side of my nose. And then I had a little thing that you'd have to really look to see, but it was like a little island. Same color as skin, no discoloring, but it was like a little island forming on the top of my nose. And I know exactly where I got it, when I got it. I got it when I was I'm 44. I was 31.9. I was almost 32. I was 31, going on 32. And it was the summer that I lived in Long Beach. For God's sake, refrigerator, for God, I'm turning you off. Driving me nuts. Gave you a million opportunities to just settle down. Oh, and now it's not going to turn on later. It's going to be all fussy. It's not going to go on. I'm going to turn it on. It's not going to make any sounds because I had it at the lowest setting, and that's what it does. But it's been 15 minutes already. You think this stuff's not cold? Don't worry, refrigerator. I'll make it up to you later. We'll watch an Iron Man movie together. I was living in Long Beach, California, and I got sick. And I think I had a variety of pesticide poisoning with some nerve damage going on, some stress damage. I couldn't move my hands very well. They were ratcheting, and I was scared. I had incredible muscular weakness. It was in my hands, it was all over my body, but it was pronounced in my hands, forearms, and arms, and then it started to spread into my legs, and I was just panicking. I've told that story before on the Robert Scott Bell Show. I'm not going to tell that whole story now. All right, I'll tell the story. I did some praying. I got in touch with the Great Spirit. I went to the doctor, and they were going to drill into my back. That's the beginning. I went to the doctor, and they were going to drill a hole in my back. And I said, I don't know. And I read about that, and it said it can introduce pathogens, bacteria into your cerebrospinal fluid that you'll never get rid of. And I said, I don't know. And I broke up with a kind of, I officially broke up with any malingering agnosticism, and I just prayed. And I didn't pray to Yahweh, and I didn't pray to, who the Muslims pray to? Oh yeah, Muhammad Ali. And I didn't pray to, I know, it was a joke. And I didn't pray to, and I talked to a friend of mine, friend at the time. Interesting person, different, difficult, interesting, gifted, whatever. And I said, Andrea, I feel this desire to pray, but I cannot go back to Catholic school and pray to that dude in the dress up there in the skirt, looking down at us, blowing his nose on us and hating us for everything that we do and making us crawl and beg. I'm just not into it. I said, what do I do? And she said, well, I go to these sweat lodges. I say, I know, you go to these sweat lodges. She was gutsy like that. She'd strip nude, go to the sweat lodges. I'm like, I'm not going nude and sweaty and passing out. Why would I do that? And she said, we pray to the Great Spirit. I was like, oh my God, that's exactly right, the Great Spirit. And I'd spent years with Alan Watts and Joseph Campbell. So anyway, it was just right there. And I could just feel all the energy stretch. I could feel these lines like Anasazi Indian drawings spreading out across the desert in California's desert. I just felt it all. And I slowly got some new ideas. Number one, that I didn't know so much. There's so much I didn't know. And I came from this family of intellectuals. And nobody ever said these three magic words, I don't know. Nobody ever said those three magic words, I don't know. I remember I would fight with my mother until and I'm talking about incredible arguments until, when I was 10 and 11 till 11, 12 at night, sometimes 12:30, because she could never just admit that she was bloody wrong sometimes. And she was. She would just renegotiate the terms every time, slide the goalpost along. Well, that's your perspective. No, no offense, Mom, but lady, I just nailed the argument. you're a 40-some-year-old woman and that was, I just explained to you everything that was going on and I'm 10 and 11 and I'm not wrong. And you don't want to say it because she could never be wrong. And it probably galled her but it's still, some people, that was her family. That was her training. Her grandma, my grandmother couldn't be wrong. The grandfather had a hard time with it. Her brothers never could do it. They would sit around at these goddamn dinners, these holiday dinners, and just one up each other, one up each other, one up each other, one up each other. Nobody ever said, "No, that's a good point." Nobody ever said, "Yeah, I don't know, man. That freaks me out. I never thought about that." Well, I read about this in this journal, and I believe. Who cares what you believe? You don't know. And the three magic words. I mean, I'll be interested in what you believe once you admit that you're guessing. I'll be interested in how good a guesser you are or how you guess. But it was a magical. I mean, it was a threshold moment for me. All slang and kidding aside, it really was. It was a life-changing moment. And I don't know became a wonderful thing to admit when I didn't know, when I had exhausted all my possibilities, and when my arms and legs weren't working quite correctly, I had exhausted all my possibilities. So I said, I don't know, and I realized I had to change my diet. I had been starving myself for fats. I'd been eating too much, probably protein of a certain kind, and I had probably demyelinated my nervous system a little bit, and I was suffering. And I'd eaten a lot of dried fruit that was always coming in from South America and Mexico, and I just feel like I probably got pesticide poisoning. So over a few months, I gave myself essentially a treatment of very lightly cooked, a lot of greens, a lot of orange foods, squash and sweet potatoes and butternut squash and kale collards, cilantro oil, and I just let myself have all the oil. And I grew up in a family that was afraid of oil because they were afraid of, I don't know, they were afraid of fat and they were in love with protein. And of course, they were all overweight. Go figure, right? So that's when I learned the I don't know thing. Well, I'm back here making this. I'm back here in I don't knowville because I definitely fucked up my two curse words in one show. Unacceptable. Expelliarmus, expecto patronum. My apologies. My apologies. That's the last one. I've definitely screwed up my gum line. Now, I've done that in a couple of ways. I've done it by overbrushing like a maniac with really bad brushes, thinking that I was getting rid of plaque, but I think I was just wearing away gum. And it just fits with the physical movement of my arm up and down across my mouth. And then I'm wondering, I don't know that I clung to veganism, but did I deprive myself of some things because I just sort of lost my taste for them? And I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I've eaten a few egg yolks in the past month or 2.5, 3 weeks. They don't bother me that much. And the thing that I think I'm getting from them is besides a couple of the fats, vitamin, well, probably A, maybe some D. Uh, what I feel like I'm getting is sulfur. So I just am increasing sulfur vegetables again. I used to eat sulfur vegetables all the time, but I lost my taste for those. Because I didn't like, you eat onions, you smell like onions, or you taste onions all the time. So I just got tired of onions. But I used to eat a lot of them, and I didn't have, some of these problems. So we'll see. We'll see if I can grow that back. So yeah, I'm having some of these problems. I'm writing a script. I have some audio drops that I got to do, and it's all on my mind, and some of it's bugging me because I did a nice recording of it, and I hate messing with something when it feels done to me because you can't. It's hard to make something that feels done better. You can adjust it, and what I have is this script, which I talked about in the first half, for an animated piece that I'm doing with this group. I'm not animating. I'm just doing the script and the concept drawings. What do you call that? What do you call it? Balls. What do you call it? A storyboard. Thank you. Anyway, thank you. Thank you, universe. So I'm doing the storyboard because I have some concepts for it, and I'll be very interested to see what the animator comes up with, and I'm very excited about that. But I always get a little panicky about the whole thing too. Like, I just do. I don't know. And like, oh, what if I don't get along with you? Well, I get along with the animator. Okay. Well, what if we have a communication problem? Well, I'll do my best and I'll communicate about it. So most things are like that. But now with my slightly receding gum, I'm like, well, what if my two teeth come out? Well, I guess I'll have to get fake teeth and I'll just pull them out and I'll be that guy who can like pull out a couple of teeth and make pirate sounds. Argablium. So I guess that's what'll happen. You're listening to the Liam Scheff Show. If you're wondering what this non-stop derailed train is, it's a train that went off the rails and never decided to get back on, but we're traveling cross country at light speed. You know, light speed is variable, by the way. I saw a talk by a guy who treats skin cancer stuff, and it's cool, and I've done it before. And so I have faith in him at this point. He also works with orphans, as I said before. And I'm going to say in Nepal where they just had the earthquake, because he was there and he got choked up and he wasn't playing it for anything. He was trying not to get choked up, but he was there before and then after the earthquake and then during the second earthquake. And it's tough, you know, because he's trying to protect. It's just impossible because he's trying to protect these kids from getting sold. And I don't know if you know how the world works, but I do. The world is heartless. Unless you're around good people, the world is heartless. I watched my mother kind of sell me out a few times. You know, she had trouble with me when I was growing up, and I just, you know, I watched her flail and realize that she was going to have to really look inside and realize that she didn't have that in her to do. And I watched her just sort of sell me down the river to this program or that program. So I ended up meeting the strangest people growing up. I had a childhood like a lot, like kind of a modern day Dickens novel. And I don't mean that I worked in a coal mill, but you know, I did a lot of manual labor for a teenager and sometimes as a kid. And it wasn't great manual labor because I didn't learn any skills other than manual labor. Like I wish they would have taught me. I wish they would have taught me to make a dovetail joint or you know, basic carpentry. But I mean, I can fill a wheelbarrow with sand. I can dig a big trench and maybe bury some PVC pipe. I can do that. We built a lot of stuff. I've chipped a lot of paint, whatever. But in terms of learning real life skills, I didn't learn any real life skills till I became anyway, that's a different story, a cook. So this guy works overseas and he treats cancer. And the way that, he treats skin abnormalities, including cancers. And his point is, and his name is Dr. T. It's Adiel, Adiel. And I don't know how to say his last. I don't remember his last name. That's the truth. I don't remember it. But you can look him up. He travels around the country. He's got a thing in Wisconsin. He's a cool dude. And I let him put this light acid that has the effect of burrowing a little bit into the material that you put it on, so you don't want to just put it anywhere. But it's not like wart remover because I don't know. I got to really talk to him about it because what was amazing, and I talked about this a little in the first bit, was that he put it on this mole that I had on the side of my nose. It turned, you know, the material turned white, and then it's like the material kills a little bit of the stuff below it, like bloodroot does. I don't know if you know what bloodroot is, but if you have any kind of really bad cancer, you might be tempted, and you don't want to go the normal, brutalizing surgical route. You might be tempted to put on this stuff called Amazon black salve. Well, I'm here to tell you that's not a great idea, because I had a scar on my arm, good size of a quarter. A quarter. Because what I did was I got a little Amazon black salve from a friend, because I had a little abnormal growth, and I thought I would just like take a chance, try to burn it off. Well, it didn't work the first time, so I did it again, and of course I let it be there longer. And the Amazon black salve looks like a dark fruit roll up, like without any preservatives. So be careful when you're eating fruit roll ups. I put this stuff on, and this stuff is made of bloodroot. So this is wild. This is how powerful natural medicines are. I put this stuff on my arm, and it hurts, and then I leave it for the day and a half, and I don't move it, and I take it off, and the area looks like it's been burnt with a cigarette. It's that white, dead, hard skin. Well, what I didn't realize was that it didn't just kill the stuff on the surface. So within a couple of days, the whole area swelled up. So my arm was puffy like a drunk. I just had a big drunken arm. And then I noticed like the area was, I was tapping it, waiting for it to scab and fall off, but it didn't quite scab. It was kind of gushy. It was like a really dense. It was like a blue cheese, absolutely like a dense blue cheese. And it's right there in my arm. That's not a great feeling, by the way. So eventually, me, sort of being like, getting impatient, wanting to figure out what's going on, I start to pull at the edges of the thing, and I notice that the skin around it is healthy and starts to pull away from that thing I thought was a scab. Well, it turns out it's not as much of a scab as a plug. Now I don't know if you saw that really bad Superman Returns movie where he, like, Krypton is forming in the ocean. He has to fly it out of the ocean. But it's like that is in my arm. It's like there's a floating, like, island going down into my arm. And it's, forming, it's got an apex, it's forming a little triangle, but the thing is an inch wide. So I'm looking at it and I pull around on the sides and I can see not quite to the bottom. Well, one day it starts to itch, and I'm laying down and I'm like, oh my God. So I get a lot of tissues, and I guess this is it. And I start to pull away, and I see that at the bottom it's actually attached by dead flesh into living flesh beneath my skin layer. This is all Amazon black salve, by the way. So I start to tug at it a little, and it hurts. It hurts like the first time you pulled a tooth out before the tooth is totally. Oh my God. Well, I just give that. It's probably a half hour, and and then, oh my God. And the bottom is like, okay, now I'm looking down into a triangle, a funnel into my own arm, like looking into the deep depths of my arm. And there's some blood, and there's liquid, and everything's happening. Well, I bandaged the thing up. I think I pour sovereign silver on it, silver hydrosol, natural immunogenic sovereign silver, and putting that on it. That thing takes 4 months to heal, to scar. I mean, it's still like a bloody, ugly scab for those 4 months, and then finally it scars. And the scar is the width of a quarter, and it's thinner than that. It's about a quarter of that. And, it doesn't like to get sun. And so I'm just going to say to you, if you got a skin problem, look up this guy online, Dr. Adiel. I can't remember his last name. It's T, though. So we call him Dr. T. And if you look up Adiel and skin and cancer, and I would find him or anybody because he likes to train people to do this. So he did the thing on my nose. It formed a little white thing. It stayed there for a few weeks. It scabbed, fell off. It healed. It looked like I never, ever had anything wrong. Now it got to the root of the mole, and we went and we treated that. The same thing will happen. I had a couple little things on my back treated, went away. One on my leg treated, went away. And the one on the front of my nose that was the same color skin, and that's how I got into the whole Long Beach story. I know, I've been all over the place. But that's how I got into the Long Beach story. When I had that nerve problem in my hand, that's when I got this little weird thing on my nose. I know. And it was like a mole, but it wasn't. It was exactly this. It wasn't round. It was just like a little weird island. It wasn't very big. It was on the left front of my nose, about a half an inch, three-quarters of an inch up. You would only know it was there if you really looked at me closely, and then you go, think, it looks like a tiny mosquito bite or something. But I noticed it, and I would squeeze it and until it would like bleed, and I would like make it into a scab, and it would just always come back. And then depending on what I was eating, it would either seem a little more swollen or a little less swollen. Sometimes it would seem to be gone. Sometimes it would seem to be back. I had him treat that once. It was gone. It took a month, 5 weeks. It was gone. That Amazon Black Salve stuff, I don't care what people say. Don't use it. Don't use it. Don't use it. Don't use it. Do other things. I mean, I guess if you have the ugliest, blackest, gnarliest, whatever, carcinoma, whatever it's called, and you don't know what to do and you got the stuff, I guess you'll use it. It will kill it. But I'd look up Dr. Adiel, and then we call him Dr. T, and I'll get his name properly. So let me connect the dots, because I've been all over the place. I came in from a talk that he gave. The talk was a little long, to be honest. He got all the information in the first hour and 10, and then he kind of rehashed a little, and then he switched topics, and it was new material. But I think everybody was a little overwhelmed at that point. But I think he was speaking to some of the doctors in the crowd to really give them information. So we talked about gut. We talked about, he went deep. Krebs cycle, glycolysis, pyruvic acid. We talked about digestion, starving cells starving for oxygen, then reverting through an epigenetic swap to a non-oxygen ATP producing, whatever you want to call it, energy producing process, digestive process. So he went in deep, and I had to dig, I mean, that you dig back into ninth and 10th grade science class, and you remember that stuff. It's all there. So it was good. It was just a little long. And then he treated me again, and that's why I was late. So I came in and I said that I was late. And then I talked about the script that I'm writing. Now, what I have to do for the rest of the night, and thank you for hanging out with me, by the way, on UCY TV and Truth Frequency Radio on the Liam Scheff Show. Thank you for hanging out. And stay tuned to whoever is next. I know it's the doctor guy, and I know he's good on UCY. What I have to do now is try to exactly set up the way that I recorded the other thing that I did, the first reading of it, because I cannot read the whole thing again. It was a good performance. It took me days to get there, and I'm not doing it again. I got to go read either two numbers or two segments and then drop them in and mess with them enough that they don't sound too weird. So it doesn't sound like 1909. Because that's one of them. Like I have to go 1909. I said 1907. I have to go 1909. But if I do it wrong, it'll go 1909. In 1909. What? I like your movie, but what was wrong when you said 1909? I know some people wouldn't care. I care. A lot of people would care. We're all a little bit perfectionisty, and then we're all total failures. Like I brush my teeth too hard, and I'm going to pirate teeth one day. I'll just pull them out and put them on the table. Hopefully I can regrow some gum. I'm doing everything that I can. I'm learning. I got a question, though, for the audience, and I want you to write me on Facebook. So online, and I know it's the internet, but online, and there's a study out of Tulane to demonstrate that it might not be totally bonkers. They say that the theobromine, ready? Theobromine in chocolate is edifying, will strengthen enamel much better than fluoride. So look that up. I mean, tell me if you know that. They say the theobromine in cocoa. So I bought some raw cocoa, and I'm going to put a coconut oil essentially pack in my mouth with the cocoa for, a half hour here and there, 10, 20 minutes. And then, now this is weird, but all sugar is bad for your teeth because sugar feeds bacteria. It's bad for your guts too, but some sugar we eat, and we need some sugar sometimes, and like bananas or apples or whatever. And you got to brush your teeth after a rinse with. Now, is rinsing with hydrogen peroxide bad for your teeth? That's question number 2. So answer me that. That's question number 2. Question number 1 is theobromine from cocoa good for your teeth? I'm serious. And what is it bad for? Is it bad for your spaz muscles? It make you not sleep, make you go crazy? So these are my questions that I'm going to leave the audience with. And if you have a good bone in your body, you'll write me. I'm there on Zuckerberg.com. You'll find me on Facebook, and you'll write me a note. Find me on Facebook and write me a note, and answer my question: is theobromine good for your teeth? Is hydrogen peroxide good for your teeth or bad? It's good against bacteria, but is it good for your teeth? I know it lightens them a little, because my teeth are lighter than they've been in years. And what's my other question? Oh, yeah. How big is too big? No, I meant how much chocolate. All right, never mind. You're listening to the Liam Scheff Show on UCY TV. I want to thank my host and producer. That would be myself and Jules. Jules, who sets up the lovely Jules, the wonderful Jules, who sets up the network. If you've ever talked to her off the air, I tell you she's as much fun to talk to off the air as she is on the air. I'm not kidding. Genuine good soul. If you feel like contributing to the network, I'm sure they have a PayPal page right there at ucy.tv, and I'm sure they could use it, $1 or $2. I certainly could. My webpage is liamscheff.com. I like it. I finally found a template that I kind of feel good about. I mean, some of them have been pretty, but the articles, you couldn't quite get to them because you were too busy looking at all the squares. But this one, you get a feeling for it, and you scroll down. You got a lot on the page, but not too much. It's not like one of those new endless scrolling pages. By the way, they can keep the new internet. The shit where you scroll down and everything's like a bloody, it's like a pop-up book. Okay, I get it. I'm scrolling and stuff is happening. It's just the worst stuff that they're doing now. Anyway, Bye bye, Truth Frequency Radio. We're going to hang out for another minute or two on UCY. But thanks very much for tuning in. Here's your music. Dun 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 dun, and that's all you get. Theobromine, hydrogen peroxide. What else am I doing? I had some egg yolks. Oh, I said I was going to talk about water picks. So I bought this water pick because it was my birthday, and I had this gift certificate for Target, so I was able to get $30 off a water pick. So it cost me $30 to get a water pick, which I never otherwise would have bought. But I'm using the thing, and man, why aren't these in every bathroom? Have you ever used a water pick? No, I'm serious. If you've never, if you've never, if you've never used a water pick, uh, now I know I'm getting a lot older because the only people I knew who had water picks were old people. I'm like, what is wrong with you that you stand in the bathroom for minutes messing around with your teeth? Well, my gums are receding, my teeth have problems. Well, other people's, my teeth are okay, but my gums are receding. And when people get older, you don't want to be a pirate. Arrgh, arrgh, I'm Pirate Liam. Arrgh. You pull out your teeth and you have a parrot on your shoulder. You don't shower. You get a big grizzly beard. Whatever. Maybe it's a good life, a pirate's life. Maybe I'll have to think about that. Arrgh. I'm gonna hold ye hostage. I'm gonna move to Nigeria and hold you hostage and make up a few $1 million and then go dancing. So I got this water pick, and this thing's fun to use. So I fill it with water, of course, which is shit, the shit local water, crap local water. But I put in a little of this hydrogen peroxide. You can really feel it. Man, does that clean your mouth? I mean, it's like not too much. You don't want to use too much. You'll blister your skin. Stuff is powerful. All of that oxygen. I'm serious. Hydrogen, what, 2 oxygens? It's potent. It's very potent. It's potent like Fabio's sperm. There, I said it. Just what you were thinking. Did he ever have any kids, Fabio? Sorry to bring that up. I saw him driving a Lamborghini once. I was with an old friend from an old school, and we were driving along, and then a guy pulled up, and it was just like the I Can't Believe It's Not Butter commercial. And we turned to our right, and we looked, and there was Fabio. He had short hair. No, I'm serious. The guy with the big chest, the big arms. And we looked at each other, and we went, it was just like a Mentos commercial. We went, no way! And we looked back, and he looked at us. He couldn't have been more pissed off. When the light changed, he hit his accelerator. Anyway, go buy my book. Stay tuned to UCY for all the great programming. You've been listening to Liam Scheff rip off a Band-Aid for an hour. See you next time. No, next time.